Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the journey of discovery of self, of other, and realms beyond space and time. My name is Adrian, and I will be your guide. Regular jobs are not for me. And honestly, I have a lot of shame around this. I'm autistic, but I didn't know that for the majority of my life because I'm so high masking and no one could actually see how miserable I was. I've had the experience of everyone around me entirely invalidating my experience. So it's like the people in my life would look at me and think I was being dramatic or just assume that I'm just like everybody else who hates their job and I complain, but it's not really that big of a deal because it's easy to cope with. And this is just not the case. It kind of is a big deal because it's causing me so much stress and anxiety that it interferes with my ability to actually take care of myself. Like, my first two jobs were so bad, I only worked at each of them for like 2 months. The first one was especially horrific for me. I think those people I worked with were treating me very badly, honestly, and they were not kind. It was always overwhelming for me. Like, I was new, and I always like to have a very clear understanding of something before I do things. And no one was really good at doing that for me. And the entire time I was just terrified of people thinking I'm dumb when I'm really not. I just need people to be more clear. And of course, I eventually quit this job, and my mom was very unhappy with me. But I literally did not want to be alive. And every single day I had to work, I would not be able to focus on literally anything else. Because it's like I needed a lot of time to mentally prepare to be at work. And I would just be so anxious all day long about having to be there. And in the beginning, because I was still in high school when I started my first job, I would only work in the evenings, like 4 or 5 hour shifts maybe. And that didn't really make it any better. Like it didn't matter if they were short shifts. My second job was only 3 days a week, and that also didn't really matter because being there still made me miserable. And those were also like 9-hour shifts, and the job was extremely boring. So that didn't help. But like the most important point here is the last job I had, I actually kind of liked it, and I was really good at it. I was working in a grocery store, I bagged groceries, I cashiered, I worked the centralized pickup area, I eventually worked at the customer service desk, which was definitely the worst thing that I did there because it involved a different level of human interaction that I wasn't always the best at. But I was so good at this job. Pretty much the only thing I ever got critiqued on was that I needed to engage more with the customers. Surprise, surprise, right? An autistic not meeting the standard for customer engagement? Wow. Because here's the truth of this. This is where my mask fails, because I primarily mask by just avoiding social interaction. Because I don't actually know how to make conversation with strangers. I don't have that skill. And if I don't know how to respond to something, I just won't sometimes. Like, I'll do my best to give you like a yeah, or oh, maybe like a smile, a nod, something, or I just won't be able to think anything quick enough. So yeah, then I just don't respond. And it always makes me feel really uncomfortable because I know people want a response. I get that. I used to get in trouble for this all the time, not responding to people. But here's the thing that people really don't understand. The bare minimum conversation with these customers was already taking all of my energy. having to smile all day and having to talk when most shifts I really didn't want to talk at all. Because, like, here's the thing, I would already be smiling all the time, and then still sometimes people would tell me to smile. And I'm like, I'm just supposed to be smiling 24/7? Like, who does that? Like, can you just let me live, please? But I used to get so mad because I would be like, I'd be constantly smiling. And then, like, the one moment you see me not smiling, like, you tell me to smile, like, that shit used to piss me off. It used to make me so angry, not even gonna lie. But yeah, like I said, most shifts I really just, I didn't want to talk. And it seems really simple, but having to do the whole, hi, how are you? Did you find everything you needed? Have a nice day, was a lot for me. I hated every second of that. And I know people never understand why I don't talk sometimes, and people always also get really mad at me for not talking as much as they want me to. And I know that they literally just can't understand me at all when I try to describe the way that I literally feel like I physically cannot get myself to talk sometimes. I have a physical reaction in my body when I know that I'm expected to talk, but I feel like I can't. Yes, I can make myself speak. Like, quite certain, I was traumatized into having this response of like, you need to respond no matter what's going on, and just making myself talk. So just that alone is really difficult for me to do sometimes. And like, poor mental health days made it feel nearly impossible for me. And when it was really bad and I felt like there's no way I can talk to people and seem normal, I would call out, which was also really hard for me. Like, I had to go over what I wanted to say in my head over and over and over, and also give myself a whole pep talk just to be able to make a phone call. And I'm like that with any phone call. So for calling out of work, it was even worse. And I think that the thing that kept me sane at my last job was like the fact that it was like literally like stimming. I did the same repetitive movements all day, scanning items, putting things into bags. That was actually fun for me. I got a lot of enjoyment out of doing that as quickly as I could and being the best at it, because I was the best at it. But this job still wore me out, even though I mostly liked it. Why? Because it's extremely social. I was working a customer service job as an autistic person, as a high masking autistic person. All my energy was going into masking. Like, neurotypical people literally do not understand what it is like to have all of your energy being used to be aware of what your face is doing, how you're standing, how you're moving, what your hands and arms are doing at any given time. Like, oh my god, I used to force myself to like stand with my arms behind my back in like this specific way, like I'd be like holding this arm like this, and I just have like be resting my arms behind my back like that, because like otherwise I would be doing something that other people would read in entirely the wrong way, and I hated that. So I was trying to be presentable or whatever. Like, I was a good worker who was happy to be there and helping people, because if you move around too much, you look unprofessional. And if you cross your arms, which like is what I wanted to do a lot of the times, just like chilling like this, people see that as negative body language for some reason. And they like think you're unhappy and like hate what you're doing, or you're rude, or whatever it is that people believe when you do that. And then, like, just constantly having to worry whether or not the customer is going to want to try to have a conversation with you that goes beyond the script that I just mentioned a little bit ago. Hi, how are you? Did you find everything okay? Have a nice day. Like, I'm essentially in fight or flight all day long. And again, with this job, it was part-time and the schedule was like very irregular. So some shifts were long and some shifts were really short. But it didn't really matter that I might only have a 3-hour shift, because it was still like the most exhausting 3 hours of my life. And to explain that to a person who has like a full-time job, working like 8 to 12-hour shifts every day, does not come across well at all. Because they don't understand that just your entire experience with having a job is very different from them. So now you just seem lazy and dramatic, and everyone thinks you're a piece of shit. And then you just have to carry around that shame, because no matter how much you try to explain to someone, they just don't get it. Because they can deal with it, and you should be able to too. But, I choose not to accept this from other people anymore. No more letting anyone invalidate my experiences. I'm not any less, because this society is literally just not set up for me in a lot of ways. And if you're also a high-masking autistic who managed to have like a normal job, but really struggles to actually be okay while doing it, I just want you to know that you're not alone and there's nothing wrong with you. And to anyone who has a problem with anything that I've said, even though I literally don't need to explain myself, I'm not even using this as an excuse to not have a job. I literally have a job. It's just a job where I make my own schedule and don't really have to talk to people if I don't want to. So that works better for me. And honestly, it's still not ideal, because it still involves being around other people and dealing with overstimulation. It's just that I don't have to talk to people if I don't want to, most of the time. So I'm not using it as an excuse to not have a job. I'm just saying that most jobs that people have are not the kind that work for me. I'm just trying to express what is actually going on when some autistic people try to fit into the mold of society that was not created with them in mind at all. It's awful and exhausting, and the reason why autistic people with jobs are pretty much always burnt out. There's a lot going on when trying to maintain a job, and not nearly enough accommodations in most cases. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Give this video a like. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.